Good morning on this beautiful Tuesday morning. I hope everybody's doing really well today. I tell you what, the markets looked yesterday like we were kind of just sort of waking up after a long weekend. And then we started to see a little bit of that push to the downside. The Dow actually down more than 400 points, did recover to finish down 200 points. Now that kind of broke a nice little rhythm that we'd had there with the markets being in positive territory and showing a little bit of strength and resilience. But it didn't look terrible. As a matter of fact, it didn't look so bad at all, considering the monstrous move that we'd made to the upside. Now, if you look over at the NASDAQ, somewhat similar, did have to recover about 150 points, finished off about 50, 55 points to the downside. Nothing huge. And you can see that reflected in what we are seeing today. But before we get to that, how about this move in crude? And I know I've pointed this out, but it's been less than a week. Crude was $95 a week ago, last Wednesday. And yesterday, about 110. Today, even doing a little bit better. 10-year has been just sort of edging higher and higher and higher, moving at a pretty decent pace. And all of a sudden, we're starting to see the 10s and 2s and all the things that we all hear each and every day from our great friend Rick Santelli over there at in Chicago. Does such a great job with all of that. But we are starting to see that movement there that a lot of people had been talking about. And obviously, Fed Chair Powell, there's been a lot going on. We've had different catalysts all over the place. So whether or not we're looking at Ukraine one moment, you're looking at the Fed the next, you're looking at inflation the next, there just seems to always be a little bit of something out there that's giving us a little bit of action. We are also looking at volatility that not too terribly long ago was trading up into the 37 area and now closing underneath 24 on a monstrous day again, 41 million contracts trading yesterday. So the volumes continue. We had 51 million on Friday, 41 million yesterday, and it felt a little slower, to be honest with you. And yet we got 41 million contracts. That really says a lot about what's going on. What really was working yesterday, energy. Start to finish, energy was absolutely ripping to the upside. It didn't quite finish up 4%, but about 3.8% on the day. Materials had another pretty decent day as well. Semis and technology, kind of quiet. When you look at that area, you really didn't see a whole lot going on there, but we were seeing a lot, like I say, in the energy space. You look at those beta energy names, definitely pulling on the markets and getting a little bit of lift, but the rest of those sectors, obviously, with that pressure, couldn't quite make up for that. But you look at Marathon and you look at Oxy and you look at EOG and you look at Pioneer and those names that we put in that beta category, really having a pretty unbelievable day once again. Also, Mosaic, CF Industries, some of these ag names getting a little bit of a lift as well, having a pretty nice day. Exxon, obviously, we're talking about energy with those beta names. Well, Exxon certainly moving to the upside as well, along with Splunk, along with AMD. Now, that was a little bit of an outlier yesterday. We did have some option activity in AMD as well, some very large call buying. But when you look at AMD, it wasn't a lot of the other semiconductors weren't quite performing the way AMD did, especially early. It did pull back, but early on, we had some really nice moves there. So early in the pre-markets today, the Dow far outpacing the NASDAQ early, but we're seeing a big catch-up trade going on right now. But you started off the day pre-market, we were up about 140 points on the Dow, only up about 10 points on the NASDAQ. That NASDAQ started to rip, and as we got a little bit closer to the opening, early, and then just a few moments ago, I looked, the NASDAQ has just been steadily moving to the upside, up about 230 points. So that's a big move. Closing in on the Dow, as a matter of fact, percentage-wise, outpacing the Dow, which started off about 140 points to the upside, never looked back, continued to the upside. Last I looked, in one of the higher levels that we've gotten so far today, about 300 points to the upside. So I mentioned Jerome Powell earlier, talking about inflation. Talked about how it's too high and what the Fed's going to most likely be doing. With all that commentary, that was partially what was, or at least probably mostly, why we were seeing the kind of sell-off that we did at that moment in that afternoon or early parts of the afternoon yesterday. So something to just keep an eye on. Looking at the 10-year, 236, one of the highest levels we've seen in quite a long period of time. By the way, I haven't really talked about Bitcoin as much, but Bitcoin has been steadily moving to the upside, 42,800, up about 4% today, having a really, really nice performance of late. You look at crude, somewhere between, call it 111 and 113, nice move. What those 113s just tacking on to where we had been moving yesterday as well. So crude's not quite dead yet, like a lot of folks were saying, but we're definitely getting a pretty decent bounce off of those lows from, again, still less than just a week ago. Volatility, right around 23. Just amazing how fast the volatility has been stuffed down and pulled down of late. Makes a little bit of sense. However, you look at the S&P and the movements that we have had. Yes, we've had some movements, some strong movements to the upside, but we are seeing less of that intraday than we had been seeing. We're seeing some, we're definitely seeing some, but not to the quite the same extent where we were seeing those 500 and 600 and 700 point moves within the day that were happening at such an incredible pace. Nike last night couldn't have done much better. They had an absolutely incredible call. Stock's been moving. It moved last night. It's been moving this morning as well. Baba with an announcement of some buybacks. That's something that's moving along with many of the Chinese names, getting a little bit of a push off of that. Financial started off the day up about 1%. Last I looked, they were up about 2%. Consumer discretionary started off pretty strong. Energy, yeah, it's gotten a little bit weaker, down about 1% so far today. But you look at technology and you look at the semiconductors after starting a little bit flat, maybe a little green, especially with technology, but both up about 1.5% early on. That's a pretty nice, powerful move. We are seeing all kinds of activity, not just in the semiconductors, but we're seeing it within some of those big cap tech names as well. Might be talking about some of that on the halftime report that I'll be on later on with Scott Wapner and the guys in just about an hour and 15 minutes or so. Nike, Under Armour, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, you get the idea. Those financials, you see those moving to the upside. We had Nike with the earnings. That seems to be pulling up Under Armour as well. And those Chinese names with that Baba call, you can take a look over at the Chinese names. It's not just Baba. It's PDD, it's Baidu, it's JD, it's NetEase, all those names participating. Chuck in a little bit of Datadog as well, and you've got a lot of different areas of the marketplace covered there with this move to the upside that we're seeing right now. There is some weakness out there. Okta and Home Depot. Early on, we had Moderna down just a little bit. Some of those energy names, they're not down a lot, but they're getting a little bit of a pull to the downside after a tremendous run yesterday. Pfizer, Mosaic obviously yesterday hit new highs once again, had a pretty nice performance today, but having a little bit of weakness today following that. Now, got two unusuals, we're out of here. MO, Altria Group. This name hits every once in a while, and by the way, hit a 52-week high today, just underneath 54. What are they doing? They're buying 5,300 of the March 54 calls, 10 cents up to about 30 cents. Can it make one of these breakouts to the upside? Oftentimes when we see stocks that do move and hit new 52-week highs, there seems to be a little extra something behind it. That's what apparently the option buyers are thinking today with some of that call buying that we're seeing there. So those 54s, they don't have a very long period of time, but stock is basically pushing right up against those levels as we speak. It did pull back just a little bit after that initial hit, but we'll see if that can break through that 54 level. Hasn't done it yet, but if it does, these options start to move to the upside in a hurry. Next, Riot Blockchain. Haven't seen a whole lot of this in a while. You know, for a while we were seeing a lot of different names in this category, the blockchain world, and we just haven't seen nearly as much option paper in there because it's been so much more concentrated on whether it be tech or Chinese names or you name it. It's been other places, but Riot Blockchain hitting once again with the stock close to 21, somewhere in that 21 category. 3,400 of the March 21 calls started off at about 44 cents, finished off a little bit over $1 on those calls. Again, this is very, very short term. It's got to happen now, but very similar to what we were talking about with Altria, it's right on top of where the stock is right now. So they're not going out in time and they're not going up in strikes. They're going and attacking right there, right where these stocks are trading right now. Discipline is a key. Understanding the options as well is also very, very important. All those Greeks, theta is a big player when we talk about short-term options. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, you want to get educated, get it online, get it where you can. Market Rebellion, we've got great guys here as well who can show you all the ins and outs. And oh, by the way, this afternoon, we got ourselves a pretty fun opportunity right at the close to talk about what it's like to be pit traders and what it's like to, a lot of folks talk about trading. A lot of folks understand some aspects of trading, but it's those trading pits that really give you all of the great ability to try to look forward and try to move around and understand all the different ins and outs of a lot of different trades. John and I were in the pits for a long time trading on those trading floors in Chicago. Try to give you a little bit of the insights of what that's like, and maybe that can help you out as you're trying to navigate as well. Folks, have a great day of trading.